Welcome back to Truck Central. Mr. Justin Wheeler here with the 2019 Ram 1500 Limited High Mileage Edition. If you're seeing this video, chances are you already saw part one of the 200,000 mile update. Today, we're going to dive into the things I don't like, the things I really wish were different about this truck after 200,000 miles. Before we get into it, I do want to say thank you again to our sponsor, Real Truck. They are the sponsor again this season. So after the video, head on over to realtruck.com. Get yourself something nice. If my grandmother came up to me and asked me, Justin, dear grandson, will I like a 5th gen Ram if I buy it? This is what my answer to her would be. I would give her very honest feedback into what she could expect to feel after a few years or 10 years and 200,000 miles. The worst thing, my least favorite thing about this truck, dare I say, if I were to ever leave Ram, the leading contributor to that decision would be this. That throttle pedal being this close to the trans tunnel. It is awful. If you don't drive a lot, it may not bother you so much. But I will say there have been many people who have chimed in on the comments when I've talked about this in the past that don't drive nearly as much as I do, that have also mentioned the just unbelievable, and not to sound dramatic, it's not excruciating pain, but it's hard to believe that driving a truck like this expensive of a truck, this luxurious of a truck, that driving it could be painful. Every day, I'm reminded that some engineer or team of engineers didn't think about this boot needing to go right there. This is a truck. You have to assume that dudes with big feet are going to have to use this thing. And it's just the angle that you got to get your leg in there is just not realistic. But I suppose if you were smaller and had a smaller foot, you probably wouldn't ever notice it. And even if you don't have a smaller frame, if you don't drive a whole lot, you might never see it. My grandma, you're probably fine on my biggest complaint. Moving on. The second most unpleasant thing about having this truck this long, or having this truck in general, is just the basic cost of ownership. We did a whole video breaking down what it costs to run this truck per mile, and it is not cheap. With the fuel economy, which isn't the worst by any means, but it's absolutely not good, and the payment, and with the oil changes and the tires, because with 22-inch rims, you're not going to get cheap tires, not likely. I guess you could, but I wouldn't run them. I've spent over $100,000 in the last 3.5 years just to drive this truck. Now, a lot of that is fuel. About a third of that is fuel. And then all the oil changes and the maintenance and the wear and tear and stuff, and then just the payment itself. Not cheap. So if you are a penny pincher, this is not a good truck for you. After the two big ones, the ergonomics of the interior or the pedals and the general cost, the rest of it's kind of a wash in terms of what I hate about the truck. And the word hate is hard for me to say because I clearly love this truck. But we have to be honest with ourselves. I would want to be honest with Grandma. If anybody I cared about was going to go buy this truck, not just viewers on YouTube, it's not perfect. So there are things about it that could and should be better. The windshield. Everybody knows these 5th gen windshields suck. For some reason. I don't know what it is. But I got so many rock chips. And then eventually a crack. And then I had to replace it. and it was over $1,000 to replace it with an aftermarket windshield, excuse me. And if I'd went OEM replacement, it would have been over $1,500. Really hate that I have to be so cognizant about how weak the windscreen is. Now, as a good defensive driver, you should never be anywhere near a gravel truck or a rock truck or a truck hauling something to the dump. But you can't always avoid it. And so I'm on a higher level of defense than probably needed, trying to look out for that stuff. And there's no downside to that outside of the fact that I shouldn't be so concerned about the windshield that it would break, because I've had trucks and cars for years before that never even got a chip in them. And this thing is just a magnet for it. So we replaced it. I put a ceramic coating on it, hoping that it might make a difference. Will it? Time will tell. I've had this windshield for almost a month and don't have a rock chip yet. If we go a couple more months without a rock chip, maybe there's something to that. Next. So I'm going to have to add in some additional footage because it's going to be hard to tell because the truck is so filthy right now, but I just haven't had time to get it to the car wash, and it's been wet and muddy and cold, and it's just a bad combination. But one of the things that I wish was a little bit better, and it's not too dissimilar from the weak windshield, is the chipability of the paint on the front of this thing. The grill is just absolutely roasted with rock chips. So these limited grills have the chrome and then like the dark, I don't know if you'd call this black chrome or just black. It's not really black as well. And that finish is just really destroyed all the way across, top to bottom. The grill is super chipped. The bumper is also very, very bad. It's just, I would expect the front of this vehicle to be extra protected, and it's not. I would say it's just mediocre. Definitely doesn't exceed expectations. I also got some really easy scratches on the hood one day when I just barely caught a branch, like didn't hit it hard at all. I've got a scratch on the rear bumper from where I just barely kissed a concrete column. I guess that's understandable. But all in all, I have to be really careful about the scratches and the chips. Like when I'm getting into the Ram boxes, just a couple of times I've had my jumper cables come out of the side, and as soon as it touches that side of the truck, scratches. I would like to see Ram incorporate something a little more heavy duty, where there's a lot of direct impact, or where there's a lot of wear and tear, like on the leading edge or the bedside underneath the Ram boxes. But it's all just kind of the same. Standard paint, attention to detail, or standard paint, just adhesion and thickness and protection all the way around. So I've talked about this one before as well, and I'll take a little bit of the responsibility myself because I don't lube these tailgate latches ever. I don't. But I've also never lubed the tailgate on my old OBS Chevy truck bed trailer, and that thing never sticks. My dad's Chevy Silverado tailgate never sticks. So yeah, maybe I should be lubing this up more than I am, but who lubes their tailgate? Well, I guess 5th gen Ram owners do, but I don't feel like you should have to. That wasn't bad. If the truck is sitting on any kind of a uneven surface, like if it's leaning to the left or to the right, you're going to fight it. In fact, today, many times I had to open the tailgate or the bed cover and yank as I pulled, and it's annoying. Shouldn't have to do that. There has been a recall on these, though, because of the pin adjustment. So I think I haven't had that done. Probably needs to be done. But the tailgate's a pain in the butt when it doesn't open when you want it to. But it is fixable. So that's a minor grievance. So speaking of minor grievance, I'm going to mention this because I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. And I basically gushed over these Ram boxes in the part 1 200,000 mile update video but they're not perfect. And let me show you what I'm talking about. I'll bring you in close. See what I'm talking about? I mean, you can tell without a straight edge on it. They're warped. They're warped. And they shouldn't have to be. Make them out of metal or something, or put a metal reinforcement rod under there, which I could do myself, but I could also lube up my tailgate. Why do I got to lube up my tailgate? Why do I have to reinforce my own ram boxes? Okay, so those are probably my primary design flaw complaints. Now, that's not the only things that have been wrong with this. In the 190,000 mile update, as well as in many previous videos, we've talked about all the stuff that is broken on this thing, and I clearly don't love that either. But to me, that's not the Ram. I don't think you can define a truck by what kind of breaks occasionally wear and tear. It's more about how it was designed, how it functions over time, like the things we've already talked about. But I obviously had the cracked manifolds, just like everybody else. I have had the steering nut problem where it was loose, had to be tightened. That has affected many people with these trucks. I did replace the wheel bearings, the CV shafts. I replaced the fuel pump because it went bad. And I have to mention it, even though it hasn't affected me. It has probably impacted more people than any other thing other than the exhaust manifolds, and that is the leaky rear window. It is a gigantic problem in the 5th gens. If you get on 5th gen forums or Facebook groups, it's literally all they talk about. Besides, how big of tires can I fit on my stock wheels? Instead of just going to YouTube and looking, because we already made videos about that. So the leaky rear window, big one. Hasn't happened to me. haven't done anything special to prevent it. I think part of the reason I don't see it, or maybe I've kind of gotten lucky, is because every time I park, I always park backwards, meaning the front of my truck is always kind of facing downhill a little bit, and so there's not a ton of water that gets back around the light and in the rear window. So maybe just park at an angle, or park at the angle that sheds water away from the leak. I don't know. I've never been wet inside, but thousands of people have. So just keep that in mind. If you're looking at a truck and you're not sure if it's got the leaky rear window, just peep around the trim in the back, the plastic that goes around the window, check for cracks, and always look in the top corners for like water stains, either slightly discolored in like on a dark headliner, it'd be slightly lighter, little like grayish rings, or if it's a light headliner, it could be a little darker or a little lighter, I guess, depending on your water quality. So guys, I think that's it. To be honest, it's kind of hard for me to come up with a list of things I don't like about this truck, because at the end of the day, the overwhelming, or I guess the most important question of all is, do I still love it despite the things that aren't good? Would I buy it again? Am I happy with the purchase? And the answer to that is, as you could probably surmise, is absolutely yes, I'm happy with it. I would recommend it to even my grandmother. But keep in mind, there are things about it that aren't great. So if you didn't see the part 1 of this video, go check it out. I talk about the stuff about it that's good, because there's more good than bad, trust me. And I don't know, if you've got one of these, tell me if there's anything I missed that sucks. Oh, the fueling. The fueling sucks. Yeah, everybody knows that too. It doesn't fuel very good. You set the nozzle in the truck and you squeeze it, then you walk away to go get your snacks, and you're halfway across the parking lot and you hear click, and you got to come back over here and you got to just feather. You got to get it just right. And that is so annoying. But it's a minor thing. One final thank you to Real Truck. Head on over to Real Truck. They've got your intakes, your bed covers, your tuners, your floor mats, your mud flaps, your exhaust, you name it. They got it. Leave me a question. I look forward to talking to you. And as always, thanks for watching.